we hold back articulating our value and how we can help solve problems and how we can move projects forward because we somehow have this incredible anxiety around saying what we're good at. And once you get over that and saying, my superpower is, and this is how it can help you, you become someone who contributes to problem solving on a personal level, in your job, in your community.
Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. All right, Be It Babe. This is for you if you have ever downplayed an idea or thought about doing something on a whim. Maybe you've downplayed yourself. Today's guest went from being a stay-at-home mom to kind of following this urge to go to a Toastmasters to then being, correct me if I'm wrong, Aletta, but the head of Toastmasters for the world, 150 countries, something like that. So I am really excited because we talk about public speaking, but we also talk really about how to belong. And I think it's an important message that every single one of you needs to hear. And hopefully we inspire you to check in with yourself and maybe think about the words that you want to communicate in this world and how you can get them out there and not be super scared about it, because we all actually are so blessed and so lucky to have special gifts and superpowers. And Aletta Rochat, our guest here today, really helps you kind of be proud of that and own that. And so here she is. All right, Be It Babe. We're about to have a very fabulous, wonderful conversation. And I think you're also just going to love to listen to our guest because she's got one of those accents you just want to listen to all the time. Aletta Rochat, thank you so much for being here. Will you tell everyone who you are and what you rock at?
Thank you, Lesley. Wonderful to be with you. My name is Aletta Rochat. I'm speaking to you all the way from beautiful Cape Town, South Africa. And my passion is helping people be more successful through the way they communicate. I'm the first person from Africa, never mind the first woman from Africa, who will soon be the international president of Toastmasters International, which I'm so excited for, and only the 10th woman in 100 years of the organization's history. So we are really helping, hopefully inspiring many other women to follow in my footsteps. I've coached and trained in 21 different countries, and I currently spend a lot of my time coaching clients to build executive presence, which is rooted in the way we communicate with each other and what we think about who we are and what we have to offer the world. I'm the author of 2 books on public speaking. So you can see I'm just in the communication game. I love it.
Okay. So first of all, congratulations. That is amazing, the accomplishments. And it's a little shocking in the length of time that you'll be the 10th, but I love that. I think it's important. I was really drawn to you because so many people are afraid of public speaking. So many people have a desire to share a story. Now more than ever, I meet people who want to talk about the things that they do. They want to help people. They want to take their story and give it out there, but they could write the book, they could put the posts, but once they have to actually put their face to words in front of people. And now public speaking isn't even just being on stage. It's even just putting stuff out on social media. People have a hard time communicating because they get so scared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do. And it's, people are scared for different reasons. Sometimes it's you've had a bad experience when you were at school and somebody laughed when you spoke up. Sometimes it's a comfort zone thing. So you find speaking to your friends, but should you be in a meeting at work and speaking to senior management, suddenly your brain evaporates and you just can't get out. And it's not that the thoughts aren't within you. You've got the ideas, you've got the talent, you've got the commitment, but somehow articulating that in front of people can be very difficult. The thing that I've noticed in myself and other people, when you get anxious, your brain is thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? And you're trying to formulate those words. At the same time, you're watching yourself make a fool of yourself. So the anxiety just explodes. And it becomes almost impossible to be you. And ultimately, if you and I were sitting across the table having a cup of coffee together, you'd easily be able to tell me what your ideas were and why they're important. But somehow some context freak people out, and then they just shut down. And then we don't see the real them. We don't see the value that they can offer.
Yeah. Well, thank you for like kind of normalizing it, because it's a common thing that people are going through. So can we go back? How did you get started in even helping people speak and communicate? Because that's not something when you're a child. I wonder, like, is that something you dreamed of doing? Well, how did you get into this?
It was a survival skill. I had a very nomadic childhood. My dad was in mining, and from a very young age, we moved around a lot. So I was born in South Africa. We moved a couple of times there. By the time I was 5 years old, we moved to Zambia, and then we moved to Canada, and then we moved to Tasmania, and then we moved back to South Africa. So I've got such a clear memory of being about 8 years old, going to my next new school on my third continent, and standing in front of this classroom of people I didn't know, and innately knowing that the way I spoke to them would determine whether or not I had friends at break time. And of course, very importantly, if you're 8 years old, whether or not you'd get an invitation to a birthday party. And I remember holding my mom's hand, before she said goodbye, and saying to myself, Aletta, you've done this before, you can do it again. And at that young age, I figured out a few basics. When you're new in an environment, you listen before you speak, because you've got to find out what's important to that group. And once you know what's important to them, then you can slot in the conversation, that type of thing. So I had many opportunities to practice that as a child. I was always the kid with a funny accent, the one who started not at the beginning of the year, but midterm. And that happened again and again. And as an adult, with my husband's job, we moved and stayed in America, in Pittsburgh for a while. We lived in London. So I got to repeat those practices many times. And then when I started coaching, I suddenly thought, where did I learn this? And it all went back to my childhood. So it was just very important to me to fit in, like for all of us, whether it's a new job or a new team, or, you dating someone and they've got friends and family you want to fit in with. These skills are applicable in all those situations.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because I also think people could hear like your Toastmasters or an executive coach for these things, but really we all need these skill sets, even in family dynamics, especially now in family dynamics. Not everyone agrees. How incredible as a child that you're like, you learn to observe and also to clearly state who you are and what you liked so that you could be accepted in. That's a superpower that you have. You're traveling and everything, but how did you get into Toastmasters and public speaking? Did your job have you doing presentations, or did you decide because you're a coach you wanted to go out and talk? What was the impetus to make you want to go out and speak more?
So, Lesley, I'm one of these strange people that actually has always enjoyed public speaking. I know I'm not the normal,
No,
but it never freaked me out. So I've always enjoyed it. And I did it as part of my job before I started raising kids. And then I got to the point I had 3 beautiful children and loved being a stay-at-home mom, but I was wanting something for me. And when I went to my first Toastmasters meeting, it wasn't to become a better speaker. I joke that I was running away from my kids. I just wanted me time. And when I got there, I'm a lifelong learner. And immediately I was so impressed with the people who were, speaking that evening, and I knew I could learn. So I just followed the desire to learn. And of course, I loved communicating in any event. And there was a path I could never have foreseen that I would become the leader of this global organization at the time. But I just kept on saying yes to the next opportunity. They started asking me to do PR for the club, and I said yes. While I was doing that, someone called and I said, well, come along to our meeting and see what it's like. And then she said, I'm phoning for my boss. He's too busy. Can't you help him? So I just said, oh, yes, I can. And that became my first client. And so it was an unintended consequence of joining Toastmasters, was stepping into this role of coaching other people. And subsequent to that, I've got coaching certifications, and it's really my happy place. Training and leading and coaching feeds my soul. So I really enjoy it. And that means it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah. You are seeking out things and then you would say yes to things. And I wonder, some of the people who listen get themselves into places because they say yes too much. How did you make sure that when you were saying yes to things that it actually was enhancing what you were doing and not compounding or stressing or causing you to not be able to do the things that you love? Is there something that you measured each yes with? Was it like a gut feeling? How did you do that? Because I'm wondering how we can take your like saying yes to these amazing things to people who might be saying yes to not amazing things.
I think the reason you've got to understand why you're saying yes.
Okay.
So if you're saying yes to get validation, or you're saying yes to feel accepted, or you're saying yes because you're afraid of saying no, those could all lead you down very strange paths. So you've got to say yes to something that means something to you. I've always been a volunteer. I love volunteering. But I remember when my son was involved in scouting, and they wanted me to take on a role of quartermaster, which was looking after all the scouting equipment. I just knew I had to say no because it didn't feed my soul. I couldn't imagine anything. I know they're talented people who do that job, but it wasn't me.
Right.
So you've got to be true to yourself when you say yes, and it's got to bring you joy at some level. But it's not yes out of a sense of duty and then you've got resentment for it. It's got to be something where you say yes because you want to give and you also want to learn. So to me, it's both sides of the coin. You can't just say yes to give and you're not learning or getting anything back. There's got to be value in it for you. And we've all got busy lives, and we've got to fit this into whatever else you've got going, your job, your family, looking after you as a person, your emotional and physical well-being. So sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong, but I've always been one of these ones. I joke that I suffer from the helium hand syndrome. So when people say, do you need anything, the hand magically goes up. And to your point, I've said yes to too many things in the past and then been burnt out. So I've learned to sit on my hand every now and again and make sure that I don't it's not a reflex reaction, it's a considered action where I can add value and where it adds value to me.
I love that you broke down all of that. And why are you saying? I think that is so important. You guys, I think you can all just take that clip apart. Everyone could just put it as a little card. Am I saying yes because I'm afraid of saying no? Am I saying yes because it's like, I'm like, until it becomes an innate muscle, I think that's really helpful because it is true. I know I had someone to send me a thing. And of course I wanted to say yes to it. The yes was like a no-brainer. The reason I said no is because the timing that just didn't work. There was no way I could do it. And so there's that old version of me who's like, oh my God, if you say no to this, they're never going to ask again. And it's like, that is actually a story. If they are never going to ask me again because I said no one time, I probably don't want to actually be with that kind of demanding space. But typically I said, oh my God, I'm so thrilled you asked me. I would love to do this. The date is wrong. I could do the weekends before. I could do the weekends after. I can't do that weekend. So, if the date changes, please consider me again. And they responded, of course, like that would be, thank you so much, let us know. So it's like, it's not, sometimes we like, could I have moved my other things to say yes? Not really. So I think it's really important for us to kind of understand why we're saying yes and what fears are coming up if we are struggling with it, just paying attention to that stuff. What are some of the things tools or sayings that you have that help you show up for all the things you want to do? Is there like a saying that you have or something that someone taught you that helps you? Because you have so much confidence. And I imagine there was some of that you were born with, but like what keeps you going in that way?
When I was running for election to a position, I've spent a lot of time speaking to past leaders and trying to glean information from them. And I'd chat to them and get their ideas and share my ideas. And at the end of every call, I would always say to them, what's the one thing, in your opinion, that I should remember as I go on this journey? And there was one of my colleagues who was senior to me in the organization, and he said words I've never forgotten. And he said to me, Aletta, remember that you belong. And that to me was so profound, because if I believe I belong, I'm likely to be more relaxed, more spontaneous. I'm more likely to share my ideas. And if I believe I belong, then I would probably be thinking at a different level. If I'm aiming for a senior position and I thought, well, if I was in the C-suite, what would be important to me if I belonged? If I already had that position, how would I approach this? And that to me became quite a powerful mindset shift to check whether I'm waiting for someone else to tell me I belong or whether I'm taking ownership and reclaiming my sense of belonging. And when I realized that I show up differently when I think I belong, then I thought, well, why don't I grant myself permission? Why does it have to be delegated to the world to give me a tick and say, yes, you can go the next step? So it's a powerful concept that's meant a lot to me personally. And when I've shared it with clients, it somehow resonates with people. If you belong, how would you show up? How would you speak up? Why would you share your ideas? Or why wouldn't you share your ideas if you belong? So for me, it's almost like a fundamental building block of confidence and executive presence is this concept of belonging, but we can give it to ourselves. And that was a game changer.
Aletta, I'm obsessed with this because that is be it till you see it. If I belong, I show up differently. If I believe I belong here, if I believe I belong in the role I'm applying for, if I do that, your energy is different, how you answer the questions, you're not waiting for validation. I'm obsessed with this whole thing. So is this a mantra that you have people say? Is this something you repeat to yourself? Is it on Post-it notes? Like, how did you incorporate it? How did you remind yourself?
It was so powerful to me that it suddenly became part of everything I did. If I belong, because as soon as I felt as if I didn't belong, the clue was that's when I'm not so sure of myself and I start doubting myself, where I start saying, well, why am I here? So-and-so is better than me. Any of those negative voices that camp in your head, as soon as they became prominent, then I'd start to say to myself, but no, calm down, take a step back, you belong.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can get into that calm state and say, actually, I do belong, then it's like my body calms down, my anxiety goes down, and then I can have clarity of thought because it's not the anxiety tripping me up. So for me, it was just such a powerful saying that I just embraced it and didn't let go of it. And now I've woven it into the coaching tools I have. I've created the I Belong Playbook to get people to start thinking which areas of their life do they have a sense of belonging and which is there a lack of a sense of belonging? And can we fix that by spending some time and saying, actually, if I did belong, what would I do? Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is linked in with self-acceptance, because if you belong, you're not wanting, you are enough if you feel you belong. And that's such a empowering thing. And it also just allows you to relax and be you, as opposed to trying to be something that you wish you would be or you think someone else needs you to be. Yeah. So it gives you permission just to make it so much easier.
Yeah. Oh my God. There is an easy button. It's that mantra. But you hit something, you hit like on self-acceptance. And I think that is difficult. I think we have a lot of perfectionists who listen, a lot of overachievers, a lot of women. They're so amazingly powerful. They're awesome. They handle everything. They're handling their parents' health that's going on. They're handling their work. They're handling their kids' stuff. And yet I feel like sometimes where like you can have the I belong in some areas, I feel like there is a lack of feeling they belong in the areas that they want to be going towards. And it's easy for them to use all this other stuff as an excuse, as a distraction to maybe not exploring the I belong, but also like self-acceptance on that thing that they're desiring. Do you find that? Like, have you worked with people in your coaching practice who like they have some amazing areas where they belong, and then they're just not accepting themselves in the area that actually is where they desire to grow?
Exactly. One of the starting points for any coaching and conversation I have with clients is trying to identify their superpowers. We all have them. But somehow society has conditioned us to say, oh, it's nothing. I can do this. It's nothing. Then we trivialize it. And once I start asking questions like, one of the clues to your superpowers is, what do other people ask you for help with? Say now you're really good at doing Excel spreadsheets and pivot tables and all this, and people come to you because you can do it in a heartbeat and they take 3 hours. You think it's nothing because it's innate to you. But it's a gift you've been given. But where I find the disconnect is we know maybe at a deep level we're good at something, but we almost scared to admit it or to articulate that to someone else. And therefore, we hold back articulating our value and how we can help solve problems and how we can move projects forward because we somehow have this incredible anxiety around saying what we're good at. And once you get over that and saying, my superpower is, and this is how it can help you, you become someone who contributes to problem solving on a personal level, in your job, in your community. But if you aren't willing to share your God-given talent, we don't know how wonderful you are, and you get overlooked. So that sense of belonging often is related to this trivialization of what we're good at. And if we can get over that, so much opens up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it takes time. It always takes an outsider to help you with that. It's kind of hard
Sometimes
to
it
do.
does.
You know, like there's some things you become aware of on your own, and some people a light bulb can turn on. And there's like a lot. Like I remember I did the artist way once, and I was answering one of the questions, and I had an aha moment that I never had ever thought about. And I was like, oh, no wonder I never cook. Like when I was 8 years old, my grandfather told me, like, are you fucking idiot? Why would you do this with the bread? And I did not realize that, at a young age, I just kind of learned, even though I was following a recipe, so sometimes things can be done within a book or a hearing something. And then other times, if you are hearing it and you know it and you're struggling with it, you need support of someone to kind of guide you. How long have you been coaching and what drew you to supporting others?
I've been coaching probably for about 15 years now. And what drew me towards it, I get such a kick out of seeing other people blossom. To me, that's the best reward ever, is when I share something, someone takes action on that and they say to me, Aletta, it worked. And to see clients growing in confidence in whichever way is important to them. It doesn't matter whether they're IT professionals or entrepreneurs or whatever, but to see them grow is just so powerful. So that feeds my soul. And it's something that as I say, it doesn't feel like work to me. I feel it's my purpose in life. That's my God-given talent, is helping other people be more successful. So for me, it's just natural to do it, and I enjoy doing it. And, I do it one-on-one. I do it in group coaching programs. I do it often with no reward whatsoever, just because I love it. And it feeds my soul.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
I think that's what's so fun about a lot of things we get to do in this world now. And so many of us have a superpower, and then we can make it be the thing that we do. And it doesn't have to feel like work. It can feel like part of any wonderful day that we're given to do. I have some questions because I know some of our listeners have probably heard Toastmasters, but probably thought it was like the thing that their parents did in the 90s. Is that something that everyone should be doing? Is it something only people who want to publicly speak do? What drew you to it? I mean, obviously you run it, so obviously you're obsessed, but I would just like to know, because I remember when I was a young adult hearing about Toastmasters, but not necessarily something that I've been told I should do it, and I just never did it. So I'm curious now. I'm asking you.
Toastmasters, for those who aren't aware of it, is an organization that teaches people public speaking and leadership skills. And we do that in clubs. So clubs, usually about 20 people, some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. And you come to club meetings and you choose your own speech topics. There's a curriculum that you can personalize. We call them pathways. And you decide which one you want to go to. And your first project, for instance, is called your icebreaker, where you simply introduce yourself to the club. We give you a few criteria. We tell you how long to speak for. So we time everything to try and train people not to go on and on or speak too short. And the beautiful thing about Toastmasters is two things. You're guaranteed an audience, which often is hard to find, and you're guaranteed applause. And then, which is something very precious. And then in that audience, somebody will be given the task of giving you feedback. And if you were speaking, they'd say, Lesley, we love that you did this, this, and this. Next time, challenge yourself. Here's my suggestion to improve that. So it's an incredibly positive, supportive environment. Everybody is there for the same reason. So it's an incredibly safe space. If you want to make mistakes, that's the place to make it. But if you participate within 3 months, you see such a tangible increase in confidence, which you take back to your family, your community, your career. So my advice is go to toastmasters.org, and there's a find a club feature, and look for clubs in your area that meet at a day or a venue that suits you or a time, and go and visit a few clubs. They've each got their own personality. And don't be put off if they look different to you, or they're older or younger than you. Just go and give it a go. You actually will be amazed. And one of the best things about it is you meet people that are different to you, people from different backgrounds, different experience sets. So your life, just by hearing their stories, is enriched. But it's a lot of fun. But it's the best way to do it is just go attend a meeting and see what you think.
What a fun hobby. I think that could be, even if you're not wanting to, I love that you brought up, like, you bring the confidence to the other parts of your life. We hear a lot of people, they struggle to make friends as an adult because it's so much harder. Like, especially when kids, if you move to a new city, good luck making new relationships, new friends. It can be really difficult, but it sounds like Toastmasters would bring multiple facets of people to the same place. And so you can connect with other people. I mean, guaranteed applause. Who doesn't want that?
Exactly.
But also, like,
and we're in 150 countries all over the world. So it's very hard to find a country that there isn't a Toastmasters club. So it's probably closer and easier than you imagine.
I'm going to look it up after just to see, because I've lived in the city 4.5 years, but I find I have a great group of connections. But also I'm like, well, how would I meet more friends if I wanted to add more friends? Because, the city can become really small if you like stay in your group and you just have that network. So I think that it could be really cool. And also, not that you have to want to go and be a public speaker, but also if you want to present in your office,
in your office, at a wedding, at a friend's birthday, at a funeral, there's so many opportunities we get to, especially these special occasions speaking, where your speech is a gift that only you can give. And you really want to do it well, whether it's a friend or someone who's retiring or someone getting married. What a wonderful way to pay tribute to someone. And if you have a bit of practice, and you can even practice those speeches at Toastmasters and get feedback before the event so that when the day comes, you can shine.
Ah, that's so cool. That would have been very helpful when I had to speak at a funeral a few years back.
Which is so hard to do.
It's so hard.
It's not easy.
You're so emotional. You're trying to like share your love, but you're also feeling your emotions. But I mean, even though it's my company that I'm running, sometimes I have to present an idea. We talked about at the beginning of this. It's like getting in one-on-one, I could like totally share the idea, but then you got to present the idea to people who are the marketing department for it. They're the payroll department going to, can we afford this? They're the ops department who has all these questions. And sometimes you're like, okay, now my idea I don't have as much confidence in it. I feel a little muddy around it. I'm actually nervous because now I have to translate it to all of you and get you excited because I want to do it. It's hard.
Yeah, it's not easy, but with a bit of practice, you'll be amazed at how much easier it'll get and how quickly you can achieve that.
I love this. So what are you most excited about right now? We're in the new year when we're recording this. Is there something that you're super excited to do this year that you haven't been doing before, or is it more of the same?
I think it is growing what I've already done. I've got a beautiful group coaching program, and I want to invite more people into that, where I mentor them for a 12-month period on executive presence. And that group has just achieved so much that is very exciting. I've also planning to publish a book on executive presence, putting all the tools that I've created and publishing that. Don't ask me for a publication date because I don't know yet. I'm still trying to get it done, but it's a dream that excites me.
Oh, around here, we love reading books. So you'll just have to let us know if there's a waitlist link or something. Executive presence, is that something we all have inside us innately, or is that something that we have to cultivate?
I think people probably have an ability for it. Whether they nurture that ability is a different question. I remember when I was at school, the headmistress of my school describing in a reference she wrote for me, she said, Aletta has a quiet authority. And in those days, maybe that was what executive presence was. So you don't have to be the loudest voice in the room. You don't have to be the best brain in the room. But if you have executive presence, when you speak, people will listen because you're adding value. And you will speak in a way that contributes to the group and contributes to the bigger picture. So I believe everybody needs it and can cultivate it and can benefit from. And it covers so many things. It covers the confidence, the self-belief, the sense of belonging, the way you articulate your message. So whether you having to say no to someone, or whether you giving feedback, or whether you inspiring a team, if you've got executive presence, it's easier. So it's something that I think all of us should develop as a muscle, because the benefits are multifaceted and it's not out of reach of anybody. We just have to become self-aware and then learn a few tips and tricks, and then build our awareness of others, because that's also part and parcel. You can't just be an island with your executive presence and nobody around you. You've got to learn to get the best out of people and give the best to people so that we all benefit.
Beautiful. I think that what you're doing is really cool. You have such a calm, headmistress said, like this calm leadership about you. There's just something, and I think that's so nice. Sometimes people have so much fluttering energy, and there's something about you that everything that you say feels possible and doable, even even if I've heard it before, but the way you say it, it's easy, like the I belong, and how that can change the way we feel and how all that can work. I wonder, before we take a brief break, what are the ways that you prioritize yourself? Because you are so passionate helping people and it doesn't feel like work. How do you make sure that you are prioritizing you in your day?
I've got quite a good sense of when I'm not feeling at my best, and when that anxiety comes up, when I'm just kind of not feeling me. My remedy is to go into nature, either go walk in the garden, or take a dog for a walk, or to have a run. Exercise and outdoors really helps me. My husband is very good. He'll just say, what's going on? If it's Toastmasters related, he'll say, you join to have fun. If you're not having fun, change something. So I'm also very aware of my energy levels. So, I try and surround myself with people who lift my energy, and hopefully I do the same for them. So I've learned over the years to say no to things that aren't good for me. But I think it's almost like that barometer. You've always just got to check, how are you feeling today? And if you're feeling off, why? I always try and track it back. When did it change and what was it? And sometimes it's anxiety. You're worried about something and then suddenly your energy changes and then you become contracted inside and then you can't be at your best. So how do you remedy that? Is it going back inside and reminding yourself that belong? Is it taking a walk? Is it phoning a friend? It's just being aware of when you can recalibrate to get back into the position that you can be creative and spontaneous and add value. But knowing what it feels like when it's right and knowing what it feels like when it's wrong is a key to looking after yourself.
I love that. I think that that's important, to give ourselves time to do that. I think that's really key. And it takes a muscle, it takes practice. Aletta, we're going to take a brief break and then find out if people can find you, follow you, work with you in your beta actions. All right, Aletta, you mentioned you have an I Belong playbook. I would like to know more, because I feel like that is the Be It Till You See It playbook right there. And you've made it. So we may as well make sure people have it.
Well, I created it in the process of trying to challenge myself to identify which parts of my life I belong and which I don't feel I belong, and why, and to kind of have a playbook where I can say, okay, that's the area I want to pick up on. So it's very simple. It's just prompts for you to follow. But the idea is that you do an inventory of your belongingness, if I can put it that way. I've never expressed it quite like that. And then that'll help you take the next step and inform yourself and just create that awareness that you can take further to get that sense of belonging and to cultivate it and nurture it, because it's not a once and done deal. It's a practice, but it's a very powerful practice. So if people would like to download that, they go to, I'm going to give you lots of letters here, HTTPS, you know the story.
Yes.
coaching.executivepresence.formula.com/belonging.
We'll put that in the show notes, guys. We will put that in the blogs. It's easy to click. Yes, that is wonderful. And do you hang out on any of the socials that people can find you, follow you on?
The best one to find me on is LinkedIn. And if you just Google my name or search my name on LinkedIn and send me a message, I'd love to have a conversation with you. And it's just, finding out when I have a conversation with you, how I could be of service and, whether we're a good match, and a conversation is the easiest way to determine that and then to see what's next.
I love that. Thank you for that. Okay. You've actually given us so many great things, but for the people who may skip to the end, or they get to hit this point and they are like, okay, but what should I do next? The bold, executable, intrinsic, or targeted steps people can take to be it till they see it. What do you have for us?
The first thing I have is to own your sense of belonging. Reclaim it if you've lost it. Second thing is you be the one to grant yourself permission to belong. It's within your power. You've got agency. It's a choice you have. And the third one is then start playing with it. Start thinking, start speaking, start acting as if you belong, and watch the difference that results once you have that mindset. So it's reclaiming our sense of belonging, and that'll unleash so many possibilities for you. And it's a gift you give yourself.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. I love this so much. I think it's a great reminder and a wonderful tool. And so also thank you for your playbook, because I do think the inventory of belongingness is key. People who listen to this, obviously y'all want to know more about yourself. And I think what a great place to evaluate and have some aha moments. So Aletta, thank you so much for being here and sharing your gifts with us and your positivity and your tools. You are wonderful and you're doing great work. Y'all, make sure you share this with a friend. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Make sure you hit up Aletta on LinkedIn and let her know your favorite takeaways. And until next time, be it till you see it. That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day. Be It Till You See It is a production of the Bloom Podcast Network. If you want to leave us a message or a question that we might read on another episode, you can text us at +1 310 905 5534 or send a DM on Instagram at BeItPod.
It's written, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Crowell.
It is transcribed, produced, and edited by the epic team at Disenyo.co.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to Melissa Solomon for creating our visuals.
Also to Angelina Herrico for adding all of our content to our website. And finally, to Meredith Root for keeping us all on point and on time.